on the number line, the distance between x and y is greater than the distance between x and z. Does z lie between x and y on the number line? So these types of questions, number line questions, are sort of my kryptonite. My brain is simply not wired to visualize numbers in space, and especially when you have to manipulate numbers in space and move things around while maintaining their relative positions to each other. I can't see it in my head. I have to diagram it on paper, which can take a long time. So for a complicated number line question like this, if I can narrow it down to 50-50 and move on, I might consider that a win. Let's see if we can get all the way through this one while keeping that in mind. And so not much information in our prompt. The only thing we are given is that the distance between x and y is greater than the distance between x and z. So let's start looking at our statements. X times y times z is less than 0. So what does that mean? It means two of our variables have to have the same sign, and then the other variable has to have the opposite sign. So to start, if I just want to draw out a example of what our number line could look like, and you can sort of see why these take a while. If I'm trying to prove insufficiency here by testing examples, I'm going to have to draw out a lot of number lines, and that can take a lot of time. So keep that in mind. So x times y times 0 is less than 0. So how can I position these guys? So say if x is over here at -1, and then I want y to be far from x, right? So I'll say y is at 4, and then z is at +1. So this works, right? Because x times y times z is less than 0. The distance between x and y is greater than the distance between x and z. And then the last thing that I have to do is I got to answer my question. Does z lie between x and y? So here I have a yes. And so now the question becomes, can I get a no? And it looks like I can do this with still fulfilling my statement requirements by just flipping the positions of x and z, right? So put z here at -1, put x here at +1, and y is still here at 4. And now I have a no. That's insufficient. Statement 2 says x times y is less than 0. So this simply means that x and y have opposite signs. And so because I have to draw out a lot of number lines here, I want to be as efficient as possible. And the way to be efficient on data sufficiency problems is to reuse your work whenever you can when you're testing examples. And so can I reuse any of these examples that came up in statement 1 in statement 2? And it looks like just my first example. And so I can think of, I'm starting my second statement with a yes to my question, right? So I can reuse this example here. I cannot reuse this example here, though, because x times y is not less than 0. And so how can I change this here? So it looks like if I just move z to the left of x a little bit, that should give me a no, right? So if I say now z is at -2, x is at -1, y is still at 4. So both, so my statement, so x times y is still less than 0. X and y is still greater, the distance between x and y is still greater than the distance between x and z. And now I have a no to my question. So that's insufficient. And so when I'm looking at them together, now I want to see. So again, I know I can reuse this first example here because I used it in each of my statements. And so again, I'm starting with a yes. So x, z, y, -1, 1, 4. Now I need to see. So can I come up with a no, meaning while still taking into account the first statement? And so what do I know here? So x and y are negative. That means a z now has to be positive. And so let's start by putting z out here. Put z out here at 7 or something. And I know the distance between x and y. And so x and y have to have opposite signs, right? So I want to put, remember, I'm trying to get z on the outside here. So I just need one of these to be positive, one to be negative. And so I'll say x is at 1. Y is at -8. Does this work? So x times y times z is less than 0. That looks like it checks out. X times y is less than 0. Checks out. The distance between x and y is greater than the distance between x and z. Checks out. And I now have a no to my question. Because again, so here I had a yes. Z is between x and y. Here I have a no. Z is not between x and y. So even together, still insufficient. So as you can see, to do this on an actual test, you'd have to be super deliberate with your pacing. And so even if I could just get the first statement done, I would consider that better than spending 5 minutes to going all the way and getting the right answer. And so keep that in mind when you're reviewing. Still go through this all the way, but on your actual test, don't get sucked in doing this for 5 minutes just because you know you can get the answer eventually.